Hey friends, this is part one of my two-part trial class walkthrough, and this video is going to have the pre-class tips, how to figure out information about your student, the lesson you're going to teach, how you determine whether you should switch lessons, and all of those little things that go into a great trial class. The other video that's up is an actual class that I taught. You can see the student, his face is blurred out or covered up, but you can see the process of me switching the slides and evaluating him. So watch this one first. Okay, so first things first, you opened up slots, you got some bookings. The class code will start with T if it's a trial class. Just this morning I taught a trial class and the code was T1, U1, LC1, 1. What does that mean? That's less important as the computer test. So the first thing you're going to do when you get a trial class booking is click on the student info and see if there is a computer test result. This means that before signing up for this class, VIPKID gave the student a test to determine their current level of English so that they would be placed at the appropriate level for them. This student did not take the test. So when a student has not taken the test, the company will just recommend a starting point, and then the teacher uses the first few slides to evaluate that student's level and to move up a level or down a level, depending on how they did. So this student this morning, I could see from the app that this student's name was, I'm not going to say, I could see the student's name, I could see his birthday, and I knew that he was 8 years old. So he was starting at a low level though, which I've noticed is not usually the case. Usually 8-year-olds in China know some English. So I looked it up and I'm supposed to start at level 2, unit 1. Okay, no computer test, but I'm supposed to start at level 2, unit 1. So what do I do now? The next thing you do is go look through the first few slides of this lesson. The first slide is going to be an intro slide, which is a great way to assess them right from the bat. If they can say their name, if they can say their age, if they can respond there, you can get a grasp on their pronunciation skills by having them pair it. So you're not evaluating them necessarily and going to switch the lesson from the intro slide, but it gives you a good idea of what to expect. The next slide is often going to be the alphabet slide, or it may have some blending words. It could have a song. It could have a conversation between a teacher and a student. So what do you do on these? These are going to have different instructions at the bottom that tell you what to do in certain situations. So for example, the alphabet slide. Does the student know the alphabet? If they do not know the alphabet at all, you might need to go down a level, because later on in that same lesson, they're going to be putting sounds together and starting to blend words. So if they don't know any of the letters, if they can't identify any single letters, they need to go down to a lesson that's teaching them letter names. First they have to identify the letters, then they can do the sounds. If they can sing the ABCs, which a lot of them can, then you're going to ask them if they can identify certain letters and their sounds. Then, based on whether or not they can do that, you might keep going, go to the next slide, which is often blending. All right, they know the alphabet, they know some sounds, can they put those sounds together? Right? It's pretty logical if you think about what to expect. A lot of new teachers get trials and they're so nervous, but just think about it logically. It's building blocks. They know the alphabet, they know the sounds and the phonics, and the next thing is forming words. So let's say they know the alphabet. They can identify some letters. They might make a few mistakes here or there. Then you can go to the next slide. Often on the alphabet slide are also some words in a column on the right. So if they know the alphabet, they can identify some letters, they know some sounds. See if they can read those words on the side. If they can read those, no problem, you need to go up, because you don't need to spend time practicing blending k, at. They can already read it, so you need to go up a level. Let's say they know the alphabet, they know some sounds, they cannot really blend. You're gonna stay where you are, because they're in a good place to start learning blending. You're going to go to the next slide, which might be blending more. Instead of just reading those words in the column, the next slide is often going to be blending segments. So it's going to have a C, then it's going to have at, and then it's going to be cat. So you're going to walk them through that process and see if they can figure it out. Okay, based on that, you can either move up again and they can go to the next level up that's going to be blending and then word families, things like that. And it might be on a topic like animals or family members. Or if they're struggling with that, you might just keep going in that level. That seems like something that they need to learn. At the bottom of this slide is often full sentences also. So another chance to see if maybe they should be moved up. Give them a chance to read that. Again, you're using very simple language here, a lot of TPR. Can you read? You can underline as you go. You can use your letters. B, at. Maybe on my whiteboard, bat. Good job, right? Using TPR and props. And that's kind of a rough explanation of how you assess their level. You want them to be challenged. You want them to get the basics of what you're going to teach them, but if they can perfectly blend, you don't want a lesson on the words they already know, right? They need to be challenged, but they need to have the tools to figure out the concepts in that lesson. So I get the question all the time, what do I do with a student who only parrots? They knew no English. They didn't know I was asking them a question. The answer to that question, what do you do, is just keep going. That's part of learning a new language. They're going to mimic you at first until they can put meaning behind the words. I like to use the example of my daughter taking Portuguese lessons because I have some experience from the parent side now. She's a beginner, she's 5 years old. So in her first lesson, the teacher introduced animals and colors, and she asked her the question, what is your favorite color? Qual é seu cor favorita? Something like that. I don't speak Portuguese, sorry, that was terrible. And my daughter just mimicked. She had no idea what that teacher said. And then the teacher explained cor is color. So my daughter could pick out cor after a while, but she still couldn't answer the question. But she knew it was color. So then she was still only mimicked, and then she learned the colors. She learned 4 different colors. And then I worked with her a little bit. When she heard that question, she would reply, rosa. She's starting to build on that, right? So mimicking and parroting is normal. That's part of the repetition part. We want them to practice saying it and hearing it over and over. We want them to internalize what we're asking of them. After they're used to that question, they're going to put meaning behind it, and then once they've learned vocabulary, they're going to be able to answer it. So I always have a puppet. This is one of the most important tools to have as an ESL teacher, is a puppet, because you can mimic the conversation. So you can teach them monkey first. If you say, my name is Monkey, they might think you just taught them one word, and that's that this is called my name is Monkey, right? So building blocks here. Monkey. Get them to say it. Get them to internalize what you're teaching them. Monkey. Angela. Angela. My name is, right? We're going to learn that my name is pattern. Then I can plug in monkey and have the monkey say it. My name is Monkey, right? Building blocks. It's okay if they parrot. Remember, you're not the only exposure to this material that they will get. They will read books and watch videos before and after your lesson, and the curriculum is not going to progress that quickly. So they're going to get exposed to these questions and these concepts again with other teachers, and it's going to click in time. So if all they do is parrot, that's great. Be patient, because patience, I've learned as a parent of a student learning another language, is key, because if you start getting impatient, if you start getting agitated noticeably that they're not getting it, you don't want them to have that negative experience, because then they're not going to want to learn English. I told my husband that today because my daughter did not practice this past week. We were on vacation and her lesson did not go so well. I mean, she had fun, but she didn't really remember the questions and she didn't really talk a lot, and my husband was so frustrated because he does speak Portuguese. And I told him, I don't care. As long as she's happy to do it, as long as she shows up and is smiling and is interacting with the teacher, I'm happy with that, because her behavior today was age-related. She's going to grow out of that. She's going to grow up and be able to sit still and be able to study on her own. And as long as she still has positive association with learning Portuguese, then she will learn Portuguese. But if we drag her and make her and be impatient with her and frustrated, she's not going to want to do it. So Apply that to your teaching. Be patient. Parrot away. Have them parrot. You have a lot of freedom with trial classes as opposed to major classes because you don't have to finish all the slides because assessing a student takes time. So you can take some liberties here. The goal to a successful trial class is to get the student to speak a lot of English and a lot of correct English. That's what the parents want you to do. They want to hear their kid talking and they want to hear you correcting their pronunciation. Those two things are key to a successful trial. So let them parrot. That's great. As long as they're talking, they're going to learn and retain. Repeat. Use a lot of positive encouragement and correct their pronunciation. Okay? So, trial. So you found the right level. You're going through the lesson. It took you 15 minutes to assess them and you're almost out of time. Use the box feature at the bottom to skip ahead to a page number. You don't want to have to click the arrow a million times because that kind of parents don't really like to see that you're skipping ahead. But if you can type in the second to last page number, you will get to the closing song, the goodbye song, if it's a lower level. If it's a higher level, there's likely not going to be a goodbye song and you can just go to the last one and say goodbye. If you're getting, I would say if you're at 24:30, 24 minutes and 30 seconds or later, skip to the goodbye song or the goodbye slide. Sing and say goodbyes, count your rewards until 25 minutes, and then peace out. Now, I hope that answered a lot of questions that people have. You are, in preparing for a trial class, you should look through the lessons, one or two above and below the one that you are expected to teach because you may have to change and be prepared for that. Another thing that people often complain to me about is, oh, the parents were sitting right there, they were feeding them all the answers, they were super involved. And to that I say, fantastic. Involved parents mean these kids are going to be held accountable, they're going to learn, they're going to practice. Sometimes the parents get overbearing, but more often than not they're supportive. And even if they're a little bit feeding answers a little too much, I would still rather that than the kid be by themselves, misbehaving, not retaining, not focusing. So just put yourself in their shoes. If your little 5-year-old was taking a lesson, you're probably going to sit by and make sure they behave and help them respond when they're not listening, because I know I've learned I have to do that with my daughter. So you've finished your trial class, whether it went well or not. Now you have to leave the feedback to the parents and you have to click the level that you ended up on, right? You can read the descriptions of each level to make sure it matches where your student was at, whether they were able to identify letters, blend CVC words, read stories, reading comprehension, answer questions, right? So figure out where they were at and put that level in to submit as feedback. Now, what to say to parents. Remember, trial classes are sweet because if that student signs up, you get an extra $5 for that class, for that 25-minute class. So you can get some nice bonuses from doing a lot of trial class and getting conversions. And I found that in addition to getting them to speak a lot of English, correcting them, and making them laugh. That's the third one that's really important. Make them laugh, make them happy. Their parents want to see that. Their parents will sign them up, right? If you were trying to find something that your kid liked, and you saw them laughing and engaging, you're going to be like, yeah, let's stick with that, right? So, in addition to doing those things during the lesson, the feedback that you leave to the parents is very important. And after spending some time in China and learning from my own trial teaching experience, I have almost a script that I use for every trial student. And I basically say, it was great to meet so-and-so today. He is a great student and a smart learner. He was very attentive and respectful. Today we talked about whatever, or we practiced blending. We learned letters. He's a very fast learner. He was able to blend words and make sounds correctly. And then this is one of the selling points that I always include. He will learn to speak English with confidence very quickly with VIPKID, which will help him be successful in university and in his future career. That is really why these kids are taking English, to help them prepare for university and ultimately their careers. I always put a plug in for that. And then I say something like, it was my honor to teach so-and-so today, and any VIPKID teacher would be happy to teach them in the future. Thank you. That's roughly what my feedback is like for almost all trials. I personalize it a little bit, like, thank you for sitting with your student and supporting them. It's so important in their learning that they have support. Or if they were misbehaving, I'll say they will be the most successful in our lesson, and lessons will be productive if they have a parent sitting with them to help them focus. I try to phrase that in a constructive manner. I will also leave a few notes in the teacher-to-teacher feedback. I will include their name because a lot of times the trial students haven't chose an English name. So if I figured out their name and it was kind of difficult, I'll say the kid's name is this, the kid is this, how many years old. I'll give brief information about this kid can read, this kid is just learning level letters, just to give the next teacher a heads up. Submit, and you're done. Whew! The fun thing about trials, especially getting ones that sign up, is to see them again, to know that you gave them that first taste of learning English and you did such a good job that they want you to be the one to teach their student, their child, is a cool feeling. And it's so cool to get the same students over and over again and to watch them learn and progress. I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions about trial classes, please leave me a comment. You can even email me. My email address is in the description below. Click the little arrow. Please subscribe so that you can make sure not to miss any new videos. I'm always taking suggestions for other videos to make and tips, so please leave your suggestions below. Hope this was helpful. Once again, good luck with your trial classes and happy teaching!